No, coworkers are not your friends. Um, I made several videos on this channel talking about that topic. And it's funny to say because, in my situation, I could be somewhat cordial or whatever. Some of y'all probably could relate where y'all say, oh yeah, I have an extrovert side to me, but mainly I'm an introvert. I feel more secure in a safe space when I'm quiet into myself. I'm kind of like, that's really me as well. But in certain social settings and environments, like, let's say work, for example, it depends on the job. I might come off as extroverted to my coworkers. Like, they might perceive me as a talkative, sociable, outgoing person. But that just depends on my social battery or whatever and their first impression of me. Let's say if I start a job and, their first impression or my first way that I present myself is, oh yeah, I'm talkative or whatever. It is not that I'm really trying to be, and I don't want people to think I'm a friendly person. Sometimes, you're just a naturally outgoing person. You can't help that. Maybe people just kind of naturally like your demeanor. They kind of like your energy or whatever. Sometimes I lose sight of the goal of trying to remain real quiet and closed off from the beginning so I could prevent misconceptions about me, or to prevent them from thinking, oh, I'm an outgoing, friendly person. Sometimes I kind of forget, you know what I'm saying? But like I say, it really depends on the job. Like, if it's a job with a lot of females and stuff, and if they somewhat vibe with you and are receptive to you, I ain't gonna lie, it's kind of harder to be super closed off. And it's kind of tricky because in that type of predicament, you don't want to be too closed off. Because believe it or not, like, you'll become the subject of gossip and people talking behind your back and all that. And it's like, it don't really matter. Who cares? You shouldn't care what people say anyway. You know what I'm saying? You go to work just to work in the first place. But I'm just telling you what can come out of keeping to yourself and being too closed off. And some of y'all already know this. People got something against people who just like them titles on YouTube be saying, you go to work, do your job, and go home. Like, people really be having a problem with that. Because most people, it just seem like when you're out and about, most people are just social out beings, social creatures. And we as humans are naturally supposed to be social creatures, but everybody not on that type of vibe and on that type of, whatever. But yeah, so coworkers not your friends. You don't want to get too involved with coworkers or whatever. But like, funny to say again, like, I kind of could get away with certain things. Like I said, specifically, I'm gonna just say, like, with female coworkers, even though I know people stress, those, especially the ones you gotta watch out for, and I get that. But if you're a certain type of guy, I ain't gonna lie, sometimes you can kind of get away. It depends on how they perceive you. Now, if they look at you as a potential creep or something, or you did something to make them believe you're a weirdo, or if they're just not attracted to you at all, it's gonna be really hard, really damn near impossible to try to be outgoing with women at work. And even probably guys too, man. People kind of judge you accordingly to how you look. Most times, not all the time, but most times, people will treat you based on how they, based off your attractive level, man. That's just the way it is. It's kind of like a subconscious thing. So I say that to say I kind of can get away with kind of being open with a few coworkers, but in the back of my head, don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted. I'm not delusional thinking I'm making friends, because I don't really care for friends. I don't really got any friends for real. Like, in real life, I don't have a friend. Like, if you look up the definition of a friend, like, I don't really have any friends for real, man. To be honest, the last time I've had friends for real, like, it might have been in high school. I might have had like one, and the rest are maybe just associates or acquaintances, or a friend of a friend, and we just kind of was mutual type shit. But yeah, so fast forward and being an adult and having to deal with the workplace and the work world, it's like, you definitely don't want to be going out trying to look for friends and thinking everybody's your buddy, especially in a competitive market such as the workplace. Now, if you're more on the lower end, and I hate to call it the lower end, but y'all know what I'm talking about. If you're more on the lower end of jobs, like, retail, warehouses and stuff like that, and the industrial work, it's kind of like it's not really that big of a deal. You don't gotta be super macho or whatever, but you still gotta take precaution when interacting with your colleagues and coworkers and your fellow workers and stuff like that. Now, especially in a competitive field like corporate, you might be working in a cubicle, yeah, something like that. Well, you might even be in your career field. You definitely got to watch how you move, man. You definitely got to watch how you interact with people. You definitely have to watch with what you let people in on and involve in your personal life, which is best to not involve them in any aspect of your personal life. But things happen, conversations get to going, and words get to flowing, and before you know, you're like, damn. You ever had a situation where you're at work, you get to talking to somebody, and this usually happens when you're like a loner for real, and the only time you really interact with people at work. But you might have talked to somebody or whatever, then the conversation kind of going good or whatever, and you don't even realize you low-key happy to be talking to somebody, or you happy somebody even listening to your ass. So time go on, and let's say a few hours go by, or later on that day you laying in your bed or chilling at the crib, and you're like, damn, I think I might have said too much to that motherfucker at work today. Like, stuff, it can happen like that sometimes. You just get to talking and yapping your mouth, and you done basically gave them the whole rundown of your biography, man. You done gave them a snippet of your unreleased biography, telling them everything. But it happens like that, and especially like that's a lot of the times that's an effect of being real lonely, man. A lot of people. I'm gonna be honest. A lot of people play hard and act tough, like, oh yeah, I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want. But a lot of times that just comes from a place of hurt, or a place of just not being able to trust nobody from past experiences and stuff like that. They might have experienced something that traumatized them, or maybe they're used to kind of being bullied, or maybe they're used to not really being heard throughout their life, so they kind of develop this hardcore shell over them socially, to where they don't really care to engage in conversations with people. But like I said earlier, we all social beings at the end of the day. It's bound to happen, man. You're gonna get caught slipping. It's gonna be that one person that's all ears to what you gotta say, and they're kind of different, and they might even kind of remind you of you, and before you know it, you'll be vomiting out the mouth, man, just rambling and going on and on and on, because that's that social side of you that's dying to come out. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with talking, man. It just be careful with what you say and let people in on when engage in a conversation with coworkers, man, especially like in the setting of being at work, in the workplace and stuff like that. So, fucking 9 to 5 type shit. Hashtag fucking 9 to 5. But yeah, so work coworkers not your friends, as y'all know, because they can take what you say and use it against you later on. May not be now, might not be tomorrow, it might not be a month from now, but they could just end there too. They could find a reason to not like you based off of what you said. The same thing applies to like a date. If you meet with somebody or whatever, it's best, especially as a guy, but not to be too biased, I'm just saying in general, it's best, there's certain things are best not to disclose or reveal right away. Like, for instance, don't be talking about religion on your first or second date. Don't be getting too hardcore, knee deep into politics and all that. There's just certain topics it's just best to stay away from. And then the same thing applies to the workplace. You don't know, everybody has different faiths and beliefs and stuff. And spiritual, they got different subscriptions to spiritual beliefs or whatever. And everybody believe their way is the right way. So you might not be trying to, but you might come off real passionate about what you believe in, and it might offend the next person. So that's an example of, people might find something about you they don't like. They might not agree with your political beliefs or political standards. But that's just the way it is, man. People could be real fickle and wishy-washy, man. And then you just get to talking, and it's best to kind of just limit your interaction. And you got to set a standard for yourself. Set a bar for yourself, and don't go past that line. A lot of people advise keeping it work related. That's good advice. Like I said, things happen, man. You might talk about little stuff outside of work. what happened at the sports game, or did you see that player, that catch you made, or do you know about the video game coming out? You know, and one thing will lead to another. It's normal, man. You know what I'm saying? But just be careful with the type of personal information you're revealing. If you got money issues, don't be revealing that you're broke or you're not where you financially want to be. If you're having personal family, things going on and stuff like that, it's best not to disclose all of that. It's really not their business, because at the end of the day, what can they do to help your situation? What can they do, man? They work in the same job you work, and you telling them your financial struggles. Like, how they gonna help you, man? They not a millionaire that could drop a couple stacks on you. All right, man, here you go, man. Thanks for telling me, you're 3 months behind on rent, man. I got you, buddy. They're not gonna do that, man. They got their own rent to worry about. They probably even got $1,000 saved up in their account. You tell them all your stuff. Another thing too, you gotta be careful. A trap or a bait that'll get you in is they'll talk about their personal lives and their personal struggles, and you might feel the right thing to do is to be mutual and to reciprocate the same energy. Nah, man, you don't gotta disclose your personal situation because they talking about theirs. They might not be up on game about not letting people in on what they got going on. But you the smart one, man. You gotta be wise and move different, man. I say when people get to talking all that personal stuff, just say, yeah, all right, yeah, you know what you're saying? Just let them know you hear them, and then boom. If you can, you can change the subject or let them keep talking about themselves. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I hear them out. You know what I'm saying? I'm a person, I'm a good listener, but I can really give a fuck about what they got going on, to be honest. And like I said, it's nothing I could do. It's nothing I could do, man. And I'm not like spiteful. I'm not going to take what they said and use it against them or nothing like that. I'm not one of them people, but that's a classic example, a prime example of, people could take what you say, man, and use it against you or just use it to judge you, man. So be careful, man, when you're engaging in conversations with your coworkers and stuff like that. And I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. I could have kept going, but I ain't got much space right now. I got to make some more space in my gallery on my video. But yeah, man. So yeah, it's a topic of not trusting your coworkers. It's not the end of the world if you engage in conversation, but just be careful with what you reveal and disclose to your fellow coworkers, man, your colleagues and stuff like that, and even especially your supervisors and bosses. They for damn sure not your friends. But yeah, man. Hashtag FAWK9to5 FAWK 9to5. But yeah, man, I'm out.